All right, guys, it is day 7. We got our last interview with a successful student today. It's Colleen. She did amazing. She got through this in 7 days, sat and succeeded. So I thought it'd be important to bring her on. She's going to talk to you about kind of like her experience and then like how she was feeling on day 7. So Colleen, good to see you again.
Hey,
Cool.
nice to see you too.
Yes, ma'am. So day 7, you went through this like in a practical, like a real 7-day, like jaunt, right? Like you just took it the day after day 7 practically, correct?
Yep, I had it actually, it was, I think day 7 for me was the actual exam day. So I had to cram a little bit more, but yeah.
So we're saying 6.5. Okay.
Yes.
So like, how did you, I think the people at the end, how did you know you were ready, like to take the exam? Other than you had to take it, so it didn't really matter, but like, how did you know you were going to do well?
So for me, it was making sure I trusted the process is the short answer. Okay. Just trust the process that you learn and that you go over as you go through your 7-day program. And when, I guess for like the day before the exam for me, and I know a lot of people feel the same way, is like your brain's going to be mush, right?
Yeah.
You can't fit anything else in there, but you want to keep studying.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're just afraid you're not going to have all of the content in your head, but you have to trust the process that you know what's going on. And what I ended up doing, if you want me to go into what I did the night before.
I was good. I know where you're going and I want to go there. Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So I was trying to figure out the best approach. And I know from the chat, right, with everybody, you go back and forth, everyone asks this question. And most of the folks are saying you have to get sleep. So I'm like, how am I going to get sleep if I want to keep studying? And it's not going to work. So what I learned to do going through your program was I used index cards. And as we were going through the simulator, like all of the questions or the coaching calls, if I was really stuck on something, I'd write the question, I'd write the answer. So they became like a little stack of cards for me that I knew were my gaps. And I knew that that's probably what would keep me up at night. So what I did like the night before is I called it quits probably right at like 5 o'clock. Okay. And then when I was going to bed, I just went through my index cards and, refreshed my brain and then called it a night. And then what I tried to do actually when I got up in the morning, and I don't know if anyone else had experienced this, but I went towards the PMI practice exam, that they have, because I just wanted to do a couple, to build some confidence, but it was taken down because it was my test day. So you can't do that. So you got to plan for that.
Oh, that's weird. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people don't freak out, like now, let's talk a little bit. Like some people get disarmed with a proctor live online looking through it, right? And so you and Rachel, I think, came up with a strategy for how you're going to deal with the, proctor looking at you or the perceived proctor. So how did you do that?
Yeah. So when I was on my last coaching call with Rachel, she had suggested to the group, just think of us here on the call and that, that we're here with you so you can go through. And I was like, that's a great idea. But I took it a step further because, I knew it was just going to be me and a proctor. Yeah. So I just made believe that you were on the other side, right. And it was like this, like a call like this. And then we were going through and, if you go through enough of the coaching calls or you're watching enough of them, you sort of get like what you would say, like to prompt and like have everybody walk through everything. So I just made believe you were on the other side and you were watching and you're prompting me. Okay. And that's how I got through everything. And I was actually surprised when I was going through the questions on the exam because I found that it was more beneficial for me to read the answers. So it was a little bit like of a twist, Yeah.
So your own way. I saw that in my coaching calls. Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it was the version of the test I got, but it helped me. So if I read all those answers, where most people are real nervous to read the answers because they're long, right? And you just want to like get an answer going. But for me to do that, it helped me understand where the questions were headed. So, right, like where are we? Yeah. And then I could go read the question and then read all the content supporting kind of a thing. And that helps me a lot. Yeah. So being able to, just sort of take a breath and, go through all of that and have you as the proctor, it took away a lot of the anxiety because all you ever hear is it's like live proctoring. And when you turn on your exam, they show your reflection, like they show you your video of you.
Yeah, it's weird.
And then, and then your videos lit up. So it's sort of like weird, right? Because you're already stressed.
Yeah.
But having somebody that you know and that you've worked with, and you put that person there as your proctor, I mean, it really relieves a lot of stress. And you're like, I can do this. This is no big deal. And then you just go ahead and start doing your exam. So yeah, that's what I did. It worked really well for me.
I think it's cool. I didn't even know I was working that day on that. And that the VMI's not paying me. And so, yeah, so that's a good little trick there, just to kind of like, get our mind in the right thing. And then you mentioned like about me querying you or like asking you questions. I can't remember the exact words you used, but like when you were thinking through questions, you always started from the back up, which is basically the same thing that we try to get people to do. Like read the last sentence. It's the same thing as reading the answers. You're just saying, where are we going? What's the focus to read with context? Now, did you think through the questions with like, and I mean, I should ask you this before we got on the call, but whatever, like with like me prodding you about like, oh, what would we look at it this way? Did you use that at all or did you just, or anything?
Yeah, I did. Okay. So I used the answers first, went through that, and I'm like, so where are we? Where are we headed? Mm-hmm. And like, so say if we were in like initiating, maybe just say,
sure.
So maybe we're talking about the charter or something. So I'm like, okay, so we have all these answers that are talking about the charter. Mm-hmm. All right. So I know where I am, like from the answers, because that was more of a concern for me, whatever reason.
Yeah.
Then I went and read the actual question, which of course is always the same question, right? So what do you do next, or right?
Yeah, it's the same thing over and over.
The same thing. So then I read the context, right? So what's the content leading up to that question? And when I read it through, I went through like the flow or the understanding of that knowledge area. It's sort of like take a breath, get yourself centered in that knowledge area, understand the process that supports it. How does it connect? So the question's like, all right, so where am I? Okay, we're in initiating. What should have happened right now? And like what's going on with the charter, what probably happened to get us to this point? And you would think about like the documents or whatever supporting for the inputs. What are we expecting, right, to have come out of this area? And you would think of your outputs and then think of like what's going to use the outputs next. And I actually had enough time to do that, so I didn't want.
Yeah, the next question was like, and you still finished with 20 minutes left, and you had free time, like.
Yeah,
so I just repetition that got you to the speed. Is that what got you there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you look at the answers after a while when you're used to doing it. You can look at the answers quick enough, and you can immediately cancel out. Like for my version of the test, I was very lucky because, I mean, in my opinion, my answers immediately I could take away too, because they were just not something that would ever happen. It would be something like, you as the project manager has decided to cancel the project. It's closed, something like that. And you're like, that would never happen. Yeah. So you're left with your last two. And so then you know where you are. And just by knowing where you are and running through real quick, you were able to really pick the best of the two. Right. And then that's how you would feel confident enough. So I had not so many questions flagged for review, because it's sort of like, that where you are, right? And you're like, just bring it on, right?
Yeah, at that point you're just going through. Yeah, and so like you talked a lot about like you're managing yourself through the entire exam, right?
Right.
So like if someone's out there, they're going to sit in the exam tomorrow or next week or whatever, if they get stressed or whatever, like what would be your advice to them? How do they pull themselves out of that? I just want to make like, what would be your opinion?
So my computer blanked 3 times.
Oh God.
Yeah. And I remembered what you had said, that other students had gone through technical issues. It's okay. It's just something new, the online version, but PMI, they have their act together, the Pearson view, whatever. And they'll come back, like, don't panic. So for whatever reason, at 3 different times, it just went like, bye-bye.
Like blank, black screen or blue screen or something like that?
Yeah, it just I went to an all white screen.
Okay.
And so my first time it happened, I was like, oh, Scott told me about that. And then I'm like, darn, I didn't check to see where I was at. Like the question, I was like, what if they take me back too far, right?
All right.
So they actually brought me back to right where I was each time, which was, impressive. And I just remained calm. So that was good. And then like one time, I think the third time it went like it whited out on me and it came back. My webcam, so see myself, like it was just black.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get the on the chat, I was like, hello, 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 right? You're like panicking. Ah!
Yeah.
And somebody came back and I'm like, am I okay to keep going? Because I don't know if you guys are seeing me. Can you see
Yeah.
me? And they're like, we can see you. And I'm like, oh, okay, I don't really need to see myself. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm good.
Yeah.
And they just said, go ahead, proceed. And I'm like, all right, thanks. So they were really on top of it. Nothing to worry about with any of that. I mean, I survived 3 white screens and they right on top of it. No worries there. I did take your advice for the beginning. I went through the first 10 just to get a feel for like, what kind of exam maybe did I get, right? Like,
Yeah.
what are we looking at?
Right.
And I got an idea of like how it was headed.
Yeah.
Meaning like mine were like long questions, but not like some people said they had really long questions. I didn't. So I was very lucky. And then what I did too is I did take breaks. So as you're going through and if you feel like you're overwhelmed,
Yeah.
I made sure to pace myself. So I did check to see.
Did you just take the breaks when you were comfortable, or did you do it on a number of questions or timing, or how did you play it out?
I did it like really on like within timing. So, you do get the break now, right? And
Yeah.
I was watching to see how that whole thing would play out because it wasn't clear to me if I had to request it or if it was just going to pop up or what was going to happen. But for me, it popped up and it's just like, you can take a break. Please, like, click or indicate you would like to take your break, that kind of thing. So I just, chose it. And the 10 minutes went really fast for me. So that helped. But going through the exam itself, especially the second half, because you have a little bit more than 100, right, questions, because you only do, I think, right, it's like 98 or something.
90, yeah.
But the second half is always the longest, because now you're almost at 4 hours or whatever. Yeah. So then I would pace myself. And only like every once in a while, I would check the clock just to see how am I doing. Am I taking like a minute, longer than a minute? Like, what do I look like? And I know when I got closer to the end, I'm like, I have like X amount of questions left. How much time should I have left? If it's a minute per question, I was doing that real quick. But I'm like, I'm safe, I'm good. And then in between, like going through like maybe every 30 minutes, I literally would take a breath and I would stretch. And I'm like, I don't, there's no problem with me stretching. So I would just make sure I could stretch, and I couldn't necessarily stand up and walk around, but just did a big deep breath a couple times and that helped a lot. And then just continued on. So that's great. You do have time. Yeah, you can pace yourself, you can manage it, you can take a breath, and you can get through it. So yeah, it's possible.
It is possible. You did it. You did it quickly. All right. That's really good. All right. So like, this is the last time they're going to talk to students. Like, is there any last kind of like remarks that you want to give to like the people that have gone through the same kind of thing as you, but just are that last little step? What would you say to them? Like encouragement or guidance or whatever to these people that are getting ready to go forth and sit for the exam in a couple days or weeks or whatever? What would you say?
I would say to, I want to say to have fun. I know, because I know I got the little video from you for right before my exam and your son was like, have fun on your test.
Yeah.
And, that sort of broke the ice, because you're like, it's almost starting and you're getting stressed. But if you could take a breath and just maybe put your mind at ease and think of something like your happy place, something, just so you could break the stress and know that it's okay. Give yourself permission to just be proud of yourself for where you are, for what you've accomplished to date.
Yep.
Because, congratulations for making it this far and being able to even take the test, right?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Right. Yeah. And then give yourself permission to be okay. I mean, if for any reason you don't pass and you feel like you have to take it over again, that's okay, because you're still moving forward, right? I think I had sent you one of those things too, that I had seen for encouragement, where they're saying if you fall, right, you're at least still moving forward. Yeah. So okay, so it's just keep positive thoughts, don't be so hard on yourself, and just have fun with it. I know it sounds crazy right now to have fun with this exam, but promise you can. And just take a breath, put things in context, take it slow, because you do have time. Some people panic and think that they have to rush through the entire thing, and you don't have to. So I think that would be what I would say. And I'm still like surprised at what a great experience it was. Hope I never have to take it again, but wasn't as bad as expected. Yeah.
Well, Colleen, I love the way you summed that up. I can't say it any better. So to have fun, let yourself, take yourself off the hook and give yourself like credit, and just kind of like enjoy the experience the best you can. And whatever happens, like, like if they were to not pass, have the worst day in their lives and they go totally blank, we got them. It's no big deal, but they're going to do well. And so I thank you very much, Colleen. That was great.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's cool. Awesome.